Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Forgive me because I've been trying to stitch this video for a few hours, but I cannot figure out how to get my audio to continue working. Whenever I stitch a video, it just mutes me the entire time, and it's been a struggle and a half. So I'm trying a different approach to stitch this video, and hopefully it'll work. Anyways, so this isn't really a story told from my point of view as much as it is my uncle's, because I was only 3 at the time. But I should start by saying my dad passed away when my mom was pregnant with me, and it's kind of a whole controversy on what happened there, because my dad's side, like my grandparents, they think that my dad shot himself while cleaning a gun. But then my mom's side, because my mom talked to the police, and they said that the angle in which the bullet went in was impossible for a human to self-inflict. I mean, it was in the back of the head. I don't know how he could be cleaning a gun and accidentally shoot himself in the back of the head. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But either way, my dad was dead before I was born. And so between my brother and I, because my mom had 2 kids by my dad, it was my brother Tyson and then me, and Tyson's a year older than I am. He wasn't really the one who would communicate much with my dad, but as a kid I did often, and a lot of my family members saw that. And this is one instance where probably the first instance that really stuck out in my family, or to my family, was I was 3 years old. It was Halloween night, so my mom took Tyson trick-or-treating. I think like I said, was 3, and then my uncle was 18 or 19. And my Uncle Tim, my mom's brother, he had me, and we were watching, or he was watching some sort of show, and the TV's facing this way in front of him, and we're on a recliner, and I'm passed out facing with my head over his shoulder facing like behind him. And he said he noticed that the room, he's watching whatever he's watching, he noticed the room dropped in temp. And he said that out of a dead sleep I woke up and I started screaming and crying, saying dad, dad, dad. And like at the time I had never called anybody dad, because my dad was dead the entirety of my 3 years living at that point, and I hadn't called anyone that yet. And he said that it scared him so much that he kind of pulled me forward, and he was like, what's going on, what's wrong? And he sees that I'm staring back at this china closet or china cabinet that has like all of my dad's stuff in it. And he said that he was so scared because he had never seen me like this, and he said the only thing he could think of saying was, Chris, go away, you're scaring your daughter. And he said within like 15 seconds I was passed back out, like completely passed out. And that's not the only instance. Like one that I briefly remember, but not very much because I was only 5 or 6, was, I think it was my Uncle Tim that came down, but I used to have this like princess desk that was like, I don't know if you know those ones that are like, there's like Sleeping Beauty ones or like Cinderella ones, and they have like the chairs that go with them and their little tables, and it has like all the princesses on them. Well, I used to always have 2 chairs pulled out, one that I was sitting in and one that my dad was sitting in. And my Uncle Tim one time came down and he sat directly down on top of my dad, and this is the part that I remember, because I remember getting like distraught and emotional because I was so confused why he would just sit on him like that. And I kept saying, you're sitting on him, you're sitting on him. And he's like, sitting on who? And I was like, you're sitting on dad. And he's like, stood up immediately and he's like, sorry, I didn't know. And I was just so confused because I didn't understand why he couldn't see him, or why he would sit on somebody. Like in my head I was like, why would you do that? You saw him sitting there, but really I was the only one who saw him. And he said that, my Uncle Tim said that I would talk to him and tell him things and talk the way my dad used to talk whenever I was talking to him. Like I would come up with these things that only my dad and my Uncle Tim would have known about. And because they were pretty close when he was alive, because he was dating my Uncle Tim's sister, my mom, so they were really close. And he said that he didn't, like, at first, like, he believed it, but he didn't believe it. And so he's like, well, if you're talking to your dad, tell him to show you the handshake that we used to do. And they used to have some sort of handshake that they would do. And I put my hand up and did the exact same handshake. And there's no way in hell that I would have known how to do that unless my dad was actually sitting there and showed me how to do it. And I did it with my uncle. And so it is a little creepy, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. So I wouldn't call it a scary ghost story. And I haven't had like any interactions as an adult with him, and honestly I don't think I would want to, because I have a daughter who's 1, and that would scare me. I'm not mentally strong enough to see a full ass apparition or see anything, because stuff scares me. I don't know, I get spooked easily, but I also like spooky stuff, but like I like watching it on television. I don't want to see it in my life, you know? And so that would scare me because I don't want her to start talking to anything. I think I would run out of the house. I wouldn't pack anything. I would just run. But anyways, it's not really a scary story because when I was little, like, they say that when you're younger, you're more susceptible to seeing things because you don't know it's not real, so therefore it doesn't scare you. Like, when you see an apparition, you think it's a genuine person standing there. You don't think that it's a ghost, or you don't really know what death is and what all that is at the time, so it doesn't scare you. Whereas as an adult, you understand that that person's gone, and therefore they're not here anymore, so you're seeing a ghost, not an actual person. Anyways, it's kind of cool.